Hello, welcome to LinkedIn Marketing Minis. I'm Karen Yankovich, and I'm here with you every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern with a simple little marketing tip that can help elevate your business and simplify your business. I want it to be powerful and simple, and it can be. And it can, I like to look at, I'm doing these videos. It's the fall of 2023. I like to look at the fall into the wrapping up of the year as kind of like the on ramp to the new year. So these are things you can put in place now so that you're kicking off the upcoming year in a strong, powerful way with your marketing. So I am live today. I am live. Hang on one second. I'm live on my Facebook business page, a Facebook group, which if you've not joined us yet, you totally should, at linkedinforwomencommunity.com. LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So wherever you're watching, if you're watching me live, I'd love for you to jump into the conversation. If you are watching on the replay, do the same. I just will be able to respond to you in real time. I'll respond to you, obviously, as I see your comments. Also, I'm here every day with these topics, and I'm happy to continue to do this for as long as it's valuable, but I'm running out of topics. So if there's something that I haven't yet talked about that you'd like to hear me talk about, send me a message or comment below wherever you're watching this, and let me know what you'd like to hear me talk about. So today we have an interesting topic. Today we're talking about how to grow your podcast on LinkedIn. And it's interesting as I did this episode, because as I'm writing this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do a better job with this. And I know what to do with my podcast, right? But right now I'm doing these videos, right? And they're every day. So I'm not sharing a lot of other stuff on LinkedIn because this is what's going out there. So as I was creating this episode for you, I was like, all right, maybe I need to kind of get back to doing some of this stuff myself. So because it's powerful and it makes a difference. So we're going to talk about that today. And, the first thing I want you to remember that as a podcast host, you are the media, right? So you need to show up on LinkedIn, on your profile, as if you are the media. You need to have that brand of you showcasing that you are a podcast host. So you want to talk about that. You want to talk about that. You want to talk about your podcast in your profile. You'll know, if you look at my profile, you'll see that I have a separate experience section for my podcast, right? What I often do, and I don't think it's there right now, but what I often do is in my featured section, I will feature my latest episode of my podcast, right? Like, all these are things that you can do to create more visibility for your show, but also to position you as an influencer, because as a podcast host, you are an influencer. You are influencing your audience, right? So you need to show up kind of worthy of that. So, LinkedIn has a unique environment for this. It has a unique environment for creating these for creating the brand of you, right? And your role as the host of your show is a part of that brand. Okay. But also remember that LinkedIn's strategy is part of the strategy that you're creating on LinkedIn is driven by your content, right? So, thinking about what does your content look like? Now, I will tell you that I very rarely, if ever, drop in a link to my podcast on LinkedIn, because I don't know that anybody's clicking a link on LinkedIn and listening to my whole show, right? Like, I'm not really sure that that's happening. But what I do often do is I'll create like a highlights reel, right? Like, you guys are going to love this week's show. On this week's show, I talk about blah, 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 blah. And somewhere around minute 14, you're totally going to want to pay attention there, because that's where I talk about blah, 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 right? So you could do like a highlights thing. And then, at that point, you can say, if you want to listen to the whole thing, and then you send them to your full show, right? But I'm not really, I don't know that there's going to be a lot of people hooked by listening to your whole show, by you dropping in a link to your whole show. Now, there's times that happens. Like, for example, one of the things that we do for each of our shows is we create like a little mini slide deck for the show of the things I talk about on the show. And if there's a guest, we showcase the guest. And in that slide deck, at the very end, I have, like, all of my shows are KarenYankovich.com/250 or whatever, right? Like, the episode number of the show is always a pretty link from my website that drives you to the full episode. So I will put that on the last slide of the slide deck, because if it's somebody that there's a guest that's sharing it, or if there's somebody that is interested in it, now I'm making it easy for them to go listen to that whole episode, right? That's how we do this. That's how you want to do this. Um, there's so many other ways, so many other things you can be doing here, right? You want to be building authentic LinkedIn relationships with potential guests, right? You also, as a podcast host, you probably want to be featured on other people's shows, because if once you're in that podcast ecosystem, if somebody hears you interviewed on somebody else's show, they're a podcast listener, maybe they'll come on over and listen to your show, right? So you want to be creating LinkedIn relationships that nurture and further the visibility of your show, right? With influencers and professionals on LinkedIn who can amplify your podcast reach and credibility. If you talk about somebody on your show, tag them. If you talk about something on your show that's somebody that you think in your audience would be interested in, tag them, right? You want to have effective call to actions on there. You want to send people, again, to listen and subscribe with your show, right? You want to send them to, I always send people to my website. I very rarely send them to like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, because I want to drive people to my website. I own my website, right? So that's typically where I want all the traffic to go. But there's a couple of other things you can do here on LinkedIn. And again, this is a very high level overview. If you want to know, all the things, we have a full-blown masterclass. And again, I mean, this is only a half hour. So if you want to know all the things, we should talk, right? You should book a call my calendar. But if you want to know dive a little deeper about how LinkedIn can really serve you and your podcast and your business, check out the full masterclass below. But one thing that you can do, and this is a little tip, and I don't often give tips like this on these videos, but this is one that I think is valuable, could be valuable for your podcast. And that is a LinkedIn ad. So if you're not going to spend a ton of money on LinkedIn ads, but it might be able to get your visibility in front of the right people. For example, I could, when I drop a link into, let's say, my slideshow for my podcast, right? It's getting done. LinkedIn ads get done from your business page, right? Your company page, not from your personal page. You can't run ads from your personal page. But what you can do is your business can sponsor content from your personal page, right? So if you want to, if you have a specific audience you want to reach, right, you can create a LinkedIn ad that speaks and then target it specifically to that audience, and then sponsor a post from your personal page. Okay. And that can be your podcast. And it's a way to target the audience to your show, and it's targeting you as the host, right? And that ad is going to be more compelling than if it's coming just from your business page, right? It's going to be more compelling because it's you talking about it, especially if it's that little, like that little video, right? That little, actually, I don't think you can't sponsor videos. So you have to be careful. So check into, I am not a LinkedIn ad expert, right? So don't take a lot of LinkedIn ad advice from me, but I probably know more about it than the average LinkedIn user. But I know that you can sponsor content that so be creative with that content, and then sponsor that from your ad account, right? From your business account, sponsor the personal post. So you might want to do that for a couple episodes and see what it does to your audience. See if it increases your numbers. See if it increases the calls to action. Hopefully your podcast has a call to action, right? So these are all things you can do to increase the visibility of your podcast. All right. So I hope that that's helpful. Again, the best way to get more information on this is KarenYankovich.com/masterclass. If you want to talk about what it looks like to get some support with any of this, on my LinkedIn profile is a link in my featured section. There's a link to book a call. Happy to see your name on my calendar. All right. I hope this was really valuable, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with another episode.